we're going to discuss and watch some tape on, David Montgomery, which obviously Texans' new lead running back. Very excited about this one. A guy that I've kind of been on here talking about a little bit as a guy that I potentially like for the Texans. I think he will improve the down and down run game, which is something that I've discussed on here more so than the explosiveness. I understand that the explosiveness may still not be where you want for this run game. I don't necessarily think Woody Marks is going to provide you with a ton of explosiveness in the run game, but David Montgomery can improve this down and down run game, get them in better third down situations, which is something that they've struggled with. Even when Joe Mixon was healthy in 2024, just something that they haven't done very well. They've put themselves and their offensive line and their quarterback in bad situations on third down, being in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, that kind of situation. So I do think David Montgomery will absolutely help that. And we can also discuss the Titus Howard trade. Obviously, one that I didn't really see coming right now. I thought they would probably extend Titus Howard, want to build around him for the offensive line. Obviously, not what happened for the Texans on the offensive line room. Definitely going to be a position that we talk about going forward, which was going to happen either way. But as we get closer to free agency and this kind of stuff, definitely a position that I think the Texans are going to address pretty aggressively in free agency and through the draft. So we can go through kind of some targets and different things like that. So also, if y'all have any, questions or just want to add anything in the chat, go ahead. Y'all can. Chat's pulled up here. So this is kind of just a fun episode, like not something, before we get to free agency, just something to kind of talk about as we get closer to free agency. Obviously, it's pretty much a week away from today. Definitely excited about these moves. I mean, the Titus Howard move, like I said, I expected him to be extended. A little disappointed that he wasn't. But David Montgomery, I think, is a very, very good running back, and I'm very excited that he is now a Texan, a guy that I've thought of very highly for multiple seasons in a row now. Can pass block, he's very efficient in the run game. He's been one of the more efficient guys on the red zone as well, which is something the Texans have really struggled with. So we can kind of watch some of that. We'll watch some of the red zone tape as well in the run game and different things like that. So, yeah, we can go ahead and kind of get started with that. Before we do that, let me go ahead and repost this on the Texans Probe account as well. But yeah, I mean, David Montgomery, like I said, very efficient back. We can kind of go through some of his advanced numbers for people that care about that kind of stuff. I think that is a chat kind of glitched here. It might be. It might be on my screen. I can't really see it for some reason. I might be. Let's see if I can fix this. Oh wait. I don't know why I can't see it. Oh well. I'll get it pulled up here. I guess I can just pop up the comments that I see. Okay. So we got Swarm chat trolling, I see. But I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can kind of look into some of these advanced numbers from David Montgomery. Go right in here. I think y'all should be able to see this. Let me pull this up on my phone and see how this looks. Because I don't have Drew with me today, so I don't necessarily know how it looks. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Looks good. So obviously, was kind of going through some of this today for my posts and stuff like that. So David Montgomery, he faced the fifth most stacked boxes in the NFL. I mean, the thing with David Montgomery is, obviously they had Jahmyr Gibbs. So when Montgomery was in, they were trying to run the football downhill, which was something that, maybe with Gibbs, you look at Gibbs, they were 34th when he was in. So David Montgomery, like I said, power back. He's going to stay, pushing piles and stuff like that. So he's able to. I tweeted it and I stand by what I said. He's going to turn losses into 2-yard gains, 2-yard gains into 5-yard gains, that kind of situation, which is something the Texans just have not had. Joe Mixon was good. He had good vision. He was creative, I would say, as a runner. He had a kind of a weird running stance. Or running, I guess, form would be the way to say that. But David Montgomery, more traditional back. He's just going to try to run you over, essentially. He was one of the best in rushing yards over expected this season. Obviously, the Lions O-line kind of regressed last season. I know that's kind of something I still have people talking about. Like, the Lions offensive line last season was not the Lions offensive line of past seasons. I guess my Wi-Fi is kind of messing up here. But it regressed a decent amount, especially on the interior. Obviously, they have Penei Sewell and Tyler Decker and that kind of stuff, but their interior was not anything crazy, as you can see here. So they really were not as good in that standpoint as they had been in past seasons. And you go through past seasons. Obviously, last season was probably his worst with the Lions, I'd say, just numbers wise. But again, his success rate since he's been in Detroit has been very, very good. He improves the down to down offense, like we talked about. He breaks tackles at a decent rate. I mean, pretty much everything you could want from David Montgomery, he brings outside of maybe, he doesn't have the explosiveness of like a Kenneth Walker or some of these guys that you were looking at if you were the Texans. He doesn't maybe bring the explosiveness of Travis Etienne, those kind of backs, but he can improve the down and down offense, get them in better passing situations for CJ Stroud. And either way, will improve the run game. And just a very, very good back. Uh, he's going to make sure the Texans uh, are not a bottom tier run game again. I don't think they're going to be like bottom three. If we go through, we can go through some of the success rate in a little bit. I'll kind of, just kind of come in here ever so often talking about these comments. Do you think the Texans should draft a running back? And if so, what round? I still would like them to draft a running back day 3. Maybe that's more explosive, can kind of give you these home run type things. I'm not necessarily I don't wouldn't hate if they drafted a guy day 2 at the running back position. I mean, don't think Dave Montgomery is the fix for longer than probably 2 years, but I also wouldn't say like if Mike Washington is there at like the top of the 3rd round, then sure, but I'm not taking him at like 38. That's not happening. Um, so it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what to think about the running back position necessarily because they gave up more for Montgomery than I would have expected. Um, but I'm not taking like a running back at 28 or 38 or 59. Like it's just not happening at this point. I'm taking offensive line. I'm considering tight end, linebacker, even edge rusher probably before that. I would defensive tackle as well. Um, I, I think there's some interesting guys at running back, but I like Woody Marks as a second running back. I actually do think Woody Marks is probably helped by this. I think his fit is actually really good with David Montgomery. So, and Jawar Jordan maybe could be a third back if if you're confident in Jawar. I don't really know how to feel about him right now. Um, Being completely honest and unbiased, how confident are you in Casario's ability to build an offensive line this offseason? I'm iffy on it, but I have some confidence because I think he did a pretty good job last offseason outside of Cam Robinson. I think they're going to be aggressive this offseason because I feel like they know they're close. And I think, and I know Mr. Optimistic left a comment. I'm going to get talk about it. I think Ed Ingram is going to be back now, which I didn't think before. I think they almost viewed the Titus Howard situation as okay, we want to keep one of the guards from last season, but they thought Ed Ingram for 12 or 13 million dollars a season was better than Titus for 21 or 20, which I agree with. I think they're right about that. I do think Ed Ingram has room to grow. I think he was better in pass protection late in the season as well. Really good run blocker, which is a huge thing. He's going to be huge for David Montgomery if they're able to keep him in the downhill run game. So I like the idea I like the guys that they're targeting as well with the offensive line. If they could get 2, and I'm going to tweet this and talk about this later. If they could get 2 of Cade Mays, Ed Ingram, and Braden Smith, if they could just get 2 of those guys, I think that's a huge improvement for the offensive line. Then you have three guaranteed starters. Ursary, 2 of those guys are going to be starters. And then if they bring back Trent Brown, which probably wouldn't cost you a lot, assuming you don't sign Braden Smith, then that's a potential starter at right tackle as well. So that kind of stuff, I think there's reason to be optimistic about what they're doing in the offensive line room. I think they have shown that they can do it with the right development. I think guys like Ed Ingram and Ursary and even Jake Andrews I thought was decent for the most part this season. So I do think they have gained trust for me. And I think they're going to value run blocking from a lot of these offensive linemen, which actually might be able to make it easier for them to build an offensive line. 'Cause a lot of teams prefer the pass protection. If they're going to try to be a run, like just a downhill run team, they probably can find linemen that can do that for cheaper than the alternative of a guy that's really good in pass pro that isn't a good run blocker, which we just saw with Titus Howard, who just got made over $20 million season, which obviously congrats to him. Y'all know that's my guy. I'm happy for him, but obviously we got to move on from that situation. And then how do you feel about bringing back Ed and Trent? I think Trent Brown will be back. I don't really see a ton of competition for him. Like, I think he's the guy that you for sure bring back. Ed Ingram's kind of interesting though. I don't know how I feel about Ed Ingram if he's under if he's 13 million or under. I'm good with it. I think that's a good contract for him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good run blocker. Okay in pass protection. I think he's got room to grow there still. So I do like Ed Ingram a lot. Um, I said 13 million and under a season. That's pretty good. Above that though, I don't think he's worth that. Um, and then Trent, like I said, Trent, I think will be back on a 1 year deal type situation. They'll probably draft a tackle if I had to guess. So they'll probably let Trent, Fisher, and the other guy compete for whatever tackle spot if I had to guess. But again, I don't really know. I didn't expect Titus Howard to get traded, so you never really know with Casera. He might do some weird things uh, and pull some things out of his sleeve. Obviously, Trent Williams is out there. Like they may do weird things at the offensive line room. So we'll see once we get closer. But I don't think they're in a bad spot with the offensive line. They have cap space to spend. They got a lot of draft capital. I think they'll be okay on the offensive line. And then let's see, what else could we look at for we can kind of watch some Montgomery tape if y'all want to. That could be kind of fun. Um, Let me pull this up really quick. Bum, bum, bum. We can kind of watch some of his inside tackle runs because I think that's what they really brought him here for. That was kind of something that I always was a little confused by with the guys that they were talking about being targeted in free agency because it felt like a lot of these guys were more zone heavy guys, and I don't think that's the way they want to play. I really they were kind of forced to play like this last year because they didn't have the backs. Like when Nick Chubb was in, they wanted to run more gap, and then Woody Marks came in, they wanted to run more zone. But I didn't really think either of them were all that good to where it would make sense for one side to here. Let me get this pulled up. Like it's not loading for some reason, but it didn't really make sense because they clearly want to be a gap team. They can say what they want to say about being a game plan type team, and that's a good thing at the end of the day. They want to be able to adjust, which I get. But at the end of the day, they want to be a gap team. That's what Cole Popovich does. That's what Nick Haley does. They want to be a downhill running team. So the Kenneth Walkers of the world, the Travis Etiennes, they just didn't make a lot of sense fit wise if that's what they wanted to do. So it was a little confusing to me why that was something that they talked about so much. I obviously uh, I don't like Travis Etienne. This is actually something that I talk about. I am very glad that they do not have. Let me go to the right one. Okay, that they did not go after Travis Etienne. I think he is not very good, to be honest with you. Explosive, but that's about all he brings. I liked Rico Dowdle. He would have made sense. He's a good fit as well. Um, I think that might have honestly been their plan if they didn't get Montgomery. So I like that idea. Um, but just kind of something to keep in mind when you talk about fit and you get to the draft and this kind of stuff. They definitely want to be a gap team, so that's something to keep in mind as you get towards free agency, and that's kind of why I think Ed Ingram might stick around compared to Titus Howard, obviously. I mean, this kind of stuff. It's simple, but he gets contacted pretty much, near the line, 1, 2 yards, and he's still able to kind of push forward. You get 4 on 2nd and 5. Like that kind of stuff is just not something the Texans had very consistently last year. You get to the goal line, and I mean, he's going to punch this football in pretty consistently as well. You're just going to take on you're going to take the safety head on and just push forward. It's simple, but they have not been able to do this kind of stuff the last couple seasons for the Texans. So it's a big improvement for them in that standpoint. And I kind of see people talking about this. I think he's better than Joe Mixon was when the Texans acquired Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. I think he's a better player. I've I really I think this is kind of known. I wasn't the biggest Joe Mixon fan from the beginning. I don't like that backs that aren't very versatile. They can't do multiple things. That's why I was a big Montgomery fan. He can bring you things in the pass game and different things like that. Um, that Mixon and these other backs really couldn't bring you. And this is good footwork, good vision. Again, you kind of turn something that if this is a running back from the Texans last season, they're probably getting wrapped up 2, 3 yards here. This right here, you kind of good contact balance as well to stick off the line, bounce off the lineman and continue to get 9 yards here. Just not something the Texans have had. I mean, this run blocking is pretty decent, but again, he kind of falls forward. Um, Good, like I said, good vision, good footwork, that kind of stuff. Just they haven't had in a while, I would say. Um, and we can kind of get into the success rate numbers for the Texans in the run game. I do want to get into that because I think that would be something to keep in mind as well. But again, the Texans, it's important to remember that the Lions off the interior offensive line last season was not very good. It's not like that he was running behind an amazing offensive line in the interior last season. That just wasn't the case. So this kind of stuff he'll bring. I mean, that's an easy 9 yard gain on 2nd and 1. Like that's the kind of stuff that you love to see. And then he picks up 13 yards here. Um, just a very, very clean back. I mean, look at this bounce. I actually posted this clip yesterday, I think. But again, it's not flashy. It doesn't look super explosive. Like it's not going to look as good as Kenneth Walker on tape. But it's kind of stacked up here. We're going to bounce outside, make two guys miss essentially, and just kind of fall forward, get 13 yards. Like that kind of stuff. It changes the game. Like that's the stuff that you can consistently do in the run game, which is kind of why the explosiveness it kind of comes and goes. We've talked about that. Like that's the kind of stuff that will make the Texans run game significantly better next season. Um, and then here we go. This is kind of a weird formation. Here we go. You got Gibbs and Monty in the game. I mean, again, it's easy. Like, the last season, I can vividly remember a play versus the 49ers when Nick Chubb gets one-on-one in the hole against a corner or a safety, and he gets wrapped up. That's not happening this season. Like, Nate Wiggins, right? He makes a tackle, but Monty's falling forward for 3 more yards after he wraps up. Monty is falling to the 28 after contact. Like, that's so huge for the Texans in the run game. And it just, like, that's why I was so high on Monty coming in and why I'm excited about this trade. I woke up late, if y'all couldn't tell. I woke up later and I woke up and I saw the Titus news first. So I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then I saw the Monty news. I'm like, wait, I'm good with this. I was pretty happy about the Monty news. Obviously, a guy that I've pushed for a little bit. I really, hopefully, this offseason we can get some guys that I pushed for because last offseason it was Christian Kirk that I pushed for, and that didn't go very well. So maybe it's not a good sign. But again, right? So this is another thing where you talk about yards after contact being so huge. He gets contacted. I guess you can't really see the line, where he is on the field, but you get contacted. First of all, good vision, good cut here. I mean, that's a really good cut. Cuts right into Kyle Hamilton, and he still falls forward for another 3-4 yards. I mean, that just changes the game. It's his 1st and 10. Instead of it being 2nd and 5, you get a first down. It totally changes the way that you play offense when you have a running back like this. And then again on the goal line, I mean, you're going to take guys on, push forward, touchdown. It's easy. Right here, you're at your own. What is this? Your own 4, your own 3. So, you got to try to get out of the. You got to try to get yards here. I don't know what down this is. 1st and 10, right? And he's going to go get 11 yards. I mean, good cut. I mean, just look at the vision, man. And then he's breaking tackles in the secondary. It's clean football. It's really nice. Like, he's not. I guess breaking tackles isn't the right word. He's not necessarily going to bounce off tacklers all the time, but he's going to fall forward after being contacted, which is huge. I mean, like I said, you just totally change the way you play offense when you have a running back like this. And it's not like the run blocking. The run blocking is pretty good. I'm not going to say it's not good. It's better than the Texans have had for sure. But again, I don't think you saw Woody Marks or Nick Chubb making this kind of cut right here. And the whole boom, we're gonna cut, we're gonna go bounce it outside. I think there was opportunities for the Texans to do this kind of stuff or bounce it to the middle. There was opportunities for Texans backs to do this, and they just wouldn't really do this. And it just, like I said, it's gonna be totally game changing to have a guy like Montgomery in the backfield next season. And this is an explosive, which I mean, like I said, he's not necessarily going to give you a ton of explosives, but he's also he can do it a little bit. He's not slow or anything. I mean, look at that. We're bouncing off contact at the line of scrimmage, and we're gone. Yeah, he's not gone. He's going to get chased down, actually. But but still, I mean, 72-yard game when he gets contacted right at the line of scrimmage is pretty awesome. I mean, he gets contacted by, I think it's Malachi Starks in the secondary too. I mean, he's not like, there you go, there's contact, and boom, we're gone. It's just he's a hard guy to arm tackle. He's gonna fall forward if you try to arm tackle him. and he's going to at least, like I said, he's going to turn these 2 yard gains into 4 yards, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but the numbers prove it. That's a big difference for a team. Like that matters a ton. Um, and even some of these like 4 yard gains, you're going to see like he probably gets contacted at the line of scrimmage, um, and he just kind of falls forward here. I mean, here you go, right? Look at this. And so he's just gonna. I mean, this makes a big difference. You may not think it makes a big difference, and when you look at the stat sheet, it may not show you this. And this is part of the reason why I think EPA is a good stat for this kind of stuff. But you look at a 4 yard gain on first down, it might not seem like that's a ton, but in this kind of situation, like I said last season, if you're the Texans, Nick Chubb and Woody Marks are going down right there. That's a 1 yard gain. Look at Montgomery. He just squirms forward and gets himself 4 yards. I mean, there's nothing there. He just falls forward. And then you get to a 2nd and 6. And that's a big 2nd and 6 is a big difference from 2nd and 9. Like that matters a lot. We've seen that from CJ Stroud. He's not, he struggled in certain situations when he gets in these long downs and trying to force the ball. We saw this in the playoff game. Now you create an opportunity where that's just not what's going to happen. You're going to be able to be in better down and distance because of David Montgomery, who also look. I mean, and that's just great vision as well. And he's going to get you into better down distance. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can block. He literally can do everything on the field for a team, and that's why. Denver was also interested in him. Denver's, a team that kind of needs running back help. They have RJ Harvey, who they liked, obviously, last draft, but he can literally bring you everything that you want from a running back. And that's why he was so valued so highly from the Texans. A 4th and a 7th is not cheap for a running back. But David Montgomery can literally do everything on the football field. And look at this vision. I mean, this is something we talked about. There was opportunities last year, and Joe Mixon was pretty good at this, to bounce runs outside. And I mean, look at this. He's just boom out. We're going outside. Obviously, like I said, he's not the best at making guys miss in the open field. And he kind of does the Joe Mixon high step, actually, which is kind of funny. But he's able to, just he's got good vision. He's able to find the open space, and then we're going to fall forward and create better down and distances for the Texans. So, okay, we'll just kind of put that up there because he is fall forward God, David Montgomery. And then, I mean, look, this is a 6 yard run. Honestly, Cincinnati's not a good defense. We can talk about that all you want as well. But even runs like this, 6 yards, I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of these clips. I've seen some of them. I watched a little bit of his tape. I mean, that's just, again, we're literally dragging 2 defensive tackles. He is literally dragging 2 defensive tackles up the field. Like there's 2 defensive tackles that wrap him up. I want to say, I mean, that's that's what, 3 yards probably, as a 3 yard gain when they touch him, and he turns it into 6 because he's just going to drag them. Like, I mean, that's just game changing. That changes the entire offensive script for the drive. Like that literally changes everything about what you do as an offense. It changes everything. That is like that just makes such a difference for a team. I can't stress that enough. And then, I mean, this is a 3 yard run. You got this is heavy personnel, but I mean, even here, you're just kind of. I mean, this is you keep the legs moving. You're pushing a little bit. It's kind of more on the offensive line, but you go to. I'm trying to think what other games you could look at. I mean, here you get direct snap to David Montgomery, who also has thrown touchdowns before, which is kind of funny. Good. I mean, just good cut. Take on the linebacker. We're in. I mean, it's clean. It doesn't, like I said, it's not going to be super flashy all the time. Like I said, David Montgomery was, probably the least explosive. Again, I mean, again, you're contacted right at the line. You need 1 yard. He goes and gets you 2. That kind of stuff it just changes. It absolutely changes how you play offense. And I understand the flashiness of, like I talked about it. Like Kenneth Walker would have been a big difference for the Texans in terms of explosiveness, but I do have concerns about Kenneth Walker down to down. I don't think he's a very good down to down running back. And I've talked about this. I talked about this with people that are in this chat, like in our swarm chat. Just I have a hard time thinking that was what they wanted as for a running back, which is kind of why I thought Rico Dowdle was the plan. But him and Travis Etienne, very explosive backs that are going to create these big plays. But I really do think what the Texans needed was a running back like Montgomery who can be a good down to down runner and keep them ahead of the chains as a running team, because they very clearly want to be a downhill running team, which we've talked about, and they'll improve in the red zone with David Montgomery. It makes so much sense, and that's kind of why I posted yesterday. I obviously had no insight or anything. I'm not like I don't have sources or anything, but I just had a feeling that David Montgomery made a lot of sense for them fit wise and what they wanted to do. So I really do love everything about what Montgomery's going to bring. I mean, again, we're just we're just falling forward. I mean, we're breaking off arm tackles. First of all, really good cut, but we're breaking off arm tackles. We're falling forward. This is 1st and 10. I mean, he gets contacted. That what is that? Probably 4 or 5 yards. Still a good gain, even if he gets brought down immediately. But this is the difference between what he's going to bring and what Nick Chubb and these guys brought last season. He's just going to make these guys. He's not going to get tackled by these arm tackles and this kind of stuff. He's going to fall forward. I mean, those are that's a defensive tackle again that he just breaks the arm tackle from, and he's going to fall forward, get them a first down. Late game execution, red zone, that kind of stuff is going to be game changing with Dave Montgomery. It really is. I mean, here you get a 3 yard gain. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of these, so I'm not sure, how many of these are on him or what the situation is. But yeah, I mean, that's it's good defense. He doesn't take a lot of losses either, which is a big thing. I know the Texans do value that. Obviously, Joe Mixon was pretty good at that as well. He didn't take a lot of losses, which I do think matters. Obviously, you'd much rather have um, you'd much rather have 2 yards or no yards than a -2 or that kind of stuff, where that really sets you back. So that is huge as well. I mean, again, good cut. It's a good tackle in the open field by Reeves, actually. But uh, again, like the backside cuts, that kind of stuff, he brings you that as well. He's not the most explosive guy, obviously. He's not going to like get to the edge and probably outrun guys, I'd say. But this kind of stuff, it's kind of stuffed up at the line of scrimmage. You bounce it back, you get 8 yards, huge. I mean, that is game changing for the Texans, and you can't say enough about how much he's going to impact the run game and just the total offense in general. And it's going to help Woody Marks too. That's another big thing. It's really going to help Woody Marks out. I really do believe that. I think it allows Woody Marks to be in the role that he wants to be in, which is a third down back. He showed off pretty good pass protection, that kind of stuff. So, uh, I mean, and again, so it's 2nd and 8 to pretty much seal the game. I mean, the game's pretty much over at this point, but you, I mean, good vision at the point. 97's in the backfield. Okay, we're gonna cut back middle, and then you get contacted. We're just gonna fall forward. I mean, we know where the first down marker is. There's got two DBs on it. Yeah, we're just gonna fall for the first down. It's so easy. It's so nice. Um, and like I said, the workload the last 2 seasons hasn't been crazy. So that kind of stuff, you can get the help, um, and that'll help you out. I mean, he's not going to be a guy that's super overworked. Again, here it's the same thing. It's literally the exact same thing we've talked about so many times. He's just going to fall forward. He gets contacted literally at the line by Jordan Davis. He's not bringing you down. You're dragging Kobe Dean for 2 or 3 extra yards. That kind of stuff. It just matters. Like I said, down to down, you may not notice the difference. If you're watching a Texas game next season, you might be like, oh, he's just kind of there. He's getting 4 yards, like 3 yards in this situation. It just makes a big difference over the grand scheme of a game. It totally changes the game. And here, I mean, you're again good. Like you're not bringing him down with these arm tackles as a DB. It's just it very rarely happens. He's going to bounce off of these guys and good vision as well. You're kind of in the back, boom. I mean, that footwork is perfect. He almost runs into this lineman. Well, okay, we're going to stock the feet, bounce off of him, boom, and then he's not bringing you down. Touchdown. I mean, again, Dallas is not the defense that you're looking at as like, oh, that's a not a pillar of success on defense, but it this kind of stuff, it just translates. The breaking tackles and um the vision and that kind of stuff, it just translates. And David Montgomery was the guy that I thought, I think there was points where David Montgomery was almost one of the more important Lions players on offense. I mean, obviously Jameer Gibbs is a stud. No one will doubt that. But David Montgomery was really important to this offense for multiple seasons when they were a really good offense pretty much every year. So, by the way, these are beautiful uniforms, all white. Lions blue is beautiful. Such a good color. Um, I mean, again, here you're just going to kind of getting pushed as well. But you're creating extra yards. You're getting, what is this, second and one? You get one instead of one, you get four. It's little things like that it does make a difference in the scheme of a game, especially if you want to be like a Texans downhill running team, like they want to be. Stay ahead of the chains, let your defense kind of win. That kind of stuff is something that will absolutely impact. By the way, Rebel got blown out. I think 27 is Rebel. It's kind of a block in the back, I think, but no flag. um, but here again, good vision, good cut. We're gonna hit the hole, boom, bounce middle, make the Overshown totally got crossed here. Actually, really good player too, but he's totally crossed. Gonna get 8 yards. I mean, it absolutely makes a difference. Um, yeah, like I said, you may not notice a difference. That's the thing. You may not notice a difference during the game, but you'll look at the numbers after a game, and it makes everyone's life easier on offense. It'll make Nick Caley's life a lot easier on offense. It's going to make CJ Stroud's life easier. I mean, this is another good example of just we're going to get 4 yards. Like we're not, we're going to fall forward and get 4 yards. This is a defensive tackle again. That's Puna Ford, or no, who I don't know who that is. Puna Ford was there. I think Tyler Davis probably looks like it. I mean, we're going to get ourselves 4 yards. We're not, and this is second and seven. We're going to get 8 yards. He's efficient. He gets what you need. He does the job. It's very good football. Mm, good cut. Another cut. I mean, we're getting the yardage. We're getting what we need. We're not super explosive, but it works. It's effective. It's a good runner. Um, and we'll kind of get into the numbers, and I'm going to go into the numbers in this. So, um, for people that don't really know what I'm talking about when I talk about success rate in the run game and that kind of stuff, if y'all want to watch, I kind of can explain it a little bit. Again, we're just falling forward. We're breaking arm tackles, the line of scrimmage. We're getting 17 yards. It makes a huge difference. Um, for the Texans, it's going to be huge. It's going to be. I mean, I can't. I can't put into words how excited I am about David Montgomery. Outside of it's going to be huge, it's going to be a big difference. The down run game is going to be so much better. There's just so much to like about this type of move. Obviously, like I said, the draft capital is a lot. They give up a lot for David Montgomery, and that's okay. I'm not going to be super overcritical. Good vision here too, getting outside. Boom. I mean, he's got some burst too. He's not slow. Um, you know, I think it's important um, for running backs to at least show some burst. You can't have no burst, and that's kind of something I was a little concerned about with Joe Mixon when they got him. He didn't have a lot of explosiveness, and he kind of showed that he had a little bit in the tank, but then the injury and that kind of stuff, it was always over for him going into this offseason. I think we all kind of knew that. Um, so yeah, we've kind of watched a lot of these carries from David Montgomery. Um, the marvelous Montgomery will prevail my offense past the opponent's 1 yard line. Yeah, I mean, the red zone offense should be so much better with David Montgomery. Um, you can't even, they were so bad in the red zone this season. They were good at getting in the red zone, like after the first 2 weeks or whatever it was, where they couldn't get into the red zone. They just couldn't score touchdowns. And with how good this defense is, they can turn these field goals into touchdowns. Man, it's going to make such a big difference. They could go win 14 games with that kind of situation. Like you can't, like I said, you can't even put into words how important David Montgomery is going to be for this team. And I'll load up kind of the success rate numbers just so we can kind of look since since Nick Caserio's taken over, we can look at the run game and that kind of stuff. It's not good. I can tell you that right now. It's not been good. Okay. I think y'all should be able to see this. Let me pull it up on my phone and make sure y'all can see this. Okay, yeah, I think it looks good. Okay. Um, so yeah, I mean, so since the tech, since Nick Casario has taken over, um, you go to 2021 when he did take over, they are so they're 31st in rushing EPA and 32nd in rushing success rate. They've been horrible in the run game. You want to go since 2023 since CJ Stroud's taken over. Um, 31st and 31st in EPA, 31st in success rate. Like they've been a horrible running team, and it hasn't really changed. It hasn't gotten it hasn't gotten a ton better. You go to 2025. Uh, I don't think it. I don't know what it was at the top of my head. I don't remember 30th and 30th. So I mean, it hasn't been pretty. And even when Joe Mixon was healthy, right? You go to this. Even when Joe Mixon was healthy, the rush EPA actually improved, right? It was 23rd because he created explosive plays, but in the six, it wasn't good down to down. That was the main issue I had. It was not good from a down to down perspective. They were behind the chains. They just weren't able to stay ahead of the chains, and that created a bad situation for the run game and for the pass game, and just put everyone in a bad situation. And a lot of that had to do with I think Bobby Slow just the run scheme wasn't good. Um, and I don't know what it was. 2022 was probably, if I had to guess, probably the best season that they had in the run game because of Damian Pierce. I mean, 31st and 27th in success rate. That's probably the highest they had the whole time. So again, not good. They were not good. Um, and that obviously is the reality of the situation. We can't hide that. But if you want to go, you can go here and look at what Dave Montgomery has done. Statistically, success rate this season 42. I want to say it was something like that. 42.3. I want to say it was the number it was. You got to qualify rushers because it's going to pull up all this shit. Um, yeah, 42.4, right? So he was 20th in success rate running the ball this season. And you go to last season, 22, I want to say it was 49. So yeah. So again, 49.2%. So that's fifth best in the league. And then his first season in Detroit, 2023, he was 10th. So he's been top 20 every single season. He's been with Detroit. And success rate, I know the Chicago seasons weren't great. Chicago's offensive line was pretty bad at this point. He was, I don't know where he was actually. Yeah, I'm just blind. May have been lower than this actually. He was, yeah. So 38%. Like there were seasons where Chicago, I think he was underrated in Chicago, actually. I do like what he did in Chicago as well. I thought he was a good player. But obviously, he improved with the Lions. They were just a better overall team. Uh, the yards after contact. Like I said, he's been above three, each of the last couple seasons. So again, he's not a super explosive guy. He's not going to hit 20 miles an hour running the football, but he's going to, he makes guys miss in the open field. Um, there's a lot to like from David Montgomery, man. There's nothing to really be upset about, I'd say, about this move. Obviously, I guess the trade capital you could be a little upset about, but um, I don't really see what's bad about David Montgomery. Like I said, I think I think Kenneth Walker, you could say, is probably a better running back, maybe. But I like him more than Rico Dowdle. I like him more than Travis Etienne. I like him honestly. I think as a player, I like him more than Brees Hall, which I know is kind of a hot take. I'm not the biggest Brees Hall fan. I think he's better than Brees Hall. Obviously, long term, I'd rather have Brees Hall because you're going to have him for that many years. But I like David Montgomery fit wise better than I like Brees Hall. I tweeted that in February. Um, I think he just fits what the Texans needed better. I think they're going to improve in the downhill game, and I think that is the biggest difference the Texans can have the whole time. I really do believe that. Um, I think we can kind of get into the free agency talk next time. I'm gonna have Drew on here later this week, and we're gonna talk about free agency as well. So definitely should be a fun one. Already kind of have a little bit of an outline of what the Texans want to do in free agency. You would think so. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Kind of just a random one. Just wanted to talk about the moves from today. Appreciate the support that y'all been showing, throughout the offseason, and definitely excited to continue to make the Texans Probe content throughout the offseason. Draft stuff going to heat up here pretty soon. Definitely excited about that. So we appreciate the support. We'll see y'all next.